I, again, am just so excited to be back and filming, and just truly thank you for everything. I am just so blessed in many ways, and I'm just so grateful. So, as you all know, well, I'm sure most of you know, but if you are new here, welcome, let me tell you. So I recently took a year off from YouTube and all the things. I moved to Arizona. I've lived in the East Coast my whole life, 31 years to be exact, and I just decided that if I was gonna do this big move, this is the time, especially before like inflation became really bad. So yeah, I am here in Arizona, and I am happy and well, and I hope that you are happy and well and healthy too. Let me know if you are at all interested in me filming some sort of what am I up to video, or what's been going on, because a lot has happened, and I'm totally happy to share that if anyone is interested. So just let me know. But I live here in Arizona with my wonderful partner. I am so incredibly lucky and blessed and supported and loved, and it's been a wild year, but I say that in the best of ways, and I'm so excited to get back to creating. I feel like I said that really weird. Creating this content for you all again, and sharing these cases that I spent a lot of time researching and diving into. I really wanted to come back strong with a bang, and I have completely immersed myself in the true crime Arizona world, if you will, which True Crime Arizona is actually a podcast that I have fallen deeply in love with, and I've gotten a lot of my information from this podcast. So if you're looking for something new to listen to, something from like a different state even, I truly recommend True Crime Arizona. But anyways, I have really immersed myself in various true crime cases, all based in Arizona, and when people say that this is the Wild Wild West, I get it now. Lots of peculiar ass shit happens out here. I think people might say that out here about like Massachusetts and the East Coast where I'm from as well. Like I feel like they would say that about that, but I just feel like there's like a whole new and maybe it's because Arizona is so big, that might have something to do with it. I have just come across the craziest cases lately, to just sum up my rant, and I have spent months and months researching them, and I cannot wait to bring them to you and share them to you, because I really want to. I'm not turning into like a strictly Arizona true crime channel, but I definitely want to come back with some of those cases that I've been really into. And you know, I feel like what better way to start everything off and start off this new journey here on the ASMR Witch in Arizona with these cases. Now, this something else and then post some more. There are just so many parts and pieces to this case, especially since the trial is currently going. It is currently in session. And it should still be in a session until early mid-December. So I want to kind of keep you all informed about that and the resolution of this, but also bring in the other parts and pieces of this case that I could not sit here and cover in one video. I could not possibly do that. So thank you for letting me rant. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to be back. Real quickly, my Patreon is $1 right now. It is $1 because I do not have a current plan yet to what I'm going to do with Patreon as far as posting new content. So until I figure out how to post a routine stream of content, it is $1. So all my past content, if you're looking for something a little extra, I think there's like 12 videos on there for now. Head on over. Just $1. Let's get into it. I've missed you guys so much. Oh my god. Okay. I'm so happy. We are going to talk about the case of the zombie hunter, Brian Patrick Miller, and the Canal murders. Again, there is so much more to this. We will get there. But for this first video, I'm strictly going to focus on the Canal murders. What happened? What led to this trial that we are now in? And then how that's shaping up for now, if you will. And then I will branch off into the other moving parts and pieces of this case. Stay tuned and bear with me. It's wild. The things I have discovered are wild. Alright. I'm going to read my notes. They're right in front of me, so if I tilt my head a little bit, that is why. That is why. Angela Brosso left her home in Phoenix, Arizona on November in 1992. This was one afternoon/evening to go for a quick bike ride by the canals. And these canals were off of I-17 and Cactus. And they were a very popular bike riding spot, just a very popular spot with lots of traffic going through them. Okay. I'm really excited. I'm like, I don't know where to start. I feel like I'm talking to my bestie. I'm like, let me tell you about this true crime case, girl. Okay. So, it was the night before Angela's 22nd birthday, and her boyfriend had stayed behind to bake her a cake. Now, her and her boyfriend had been together for quite some time. I believed Angela had gone to college in California, and he had gone to college in Arizona, and they were doing this kind of long distance thing, but they were in that stage of like coming together, living together, kind of like going to that next level in their relationship. So after a few hours, our boyfriend became very concerned when she did not return, and unfortunately he would never see her again. Her body was discovered, and I'm pretty sure it was discovered very quickly So she probably was heading home, or maybe had just gotten there and started to go on the bike ride. She had been stabbed in the back, and the cut in her back is believed to have been the one to, I hope that wasn't too loud, I'm so sorry, is believed to have been the one to have pulled her from her bike, you know, to like get her off her bike. And then she had been cut pretty much like around her torso, like almost cut in half, but not quite. But the most gruesome part of this discovery was that her head was missing. This was shocking. This was absolutely shocking for investigators, for the community, for Angela and her family. It was just gruesome. 12 days later, a local man, he was known for spending a lot of time fishing in the canals, and forgive me, but I did not write down his name. That's bad on me. But he had been in the canals, and he saw something that was caught in like one of the grates in the canal, and from what he told investigators, he knew right away that he had found Angela Brosso's head. And when they actually like interviewed his mother, the fisherman, and his mother had told investigators that she knew that he would find the head, and she was like really worried about it and worried for him, and she was like, I know you're gonna find this. And she was right, unfortunately. But right away, the most peculiar and odd thing about this was that the head was perfectly preserved. So right away, it was clear and evident that the head wasn't thrown in there 12 days before. It was not thrown in there right after the killing. It had been recently thrown in the canal, maybe within a few hours, maybe that day, maybe the previous day, but not much longer than that. So investigators were even more shocked now, because they knew that they had, you know, a serial killer on their hands. And even if they didn't have a serial killer on their hands, this was definitely somebody that would do this again if they were not stopped. So the city of Phoenix was gripped in fear. People were super cautious. They were traveling in pairs on the bike trails, and investigators followed some leads, but unfortunately the case went ice cold. Now 10 months later, I'm just moving my notes here really, really quickly. Okay. Now 10 months later, their canal murder strikes again. And they know right away it was the same person. Melanie Bernas went on a bike ride the night of September 22nd, 1993. And the last thing that her mother remembers her saying was, I love you, and I will see you in a little while. Marlene Bernas knew right away, when her daughter had not returned, that something had gone terribly wrong. She instantly began to call local hospitals and emergency rooms to see if her daughter was there. Sorry if you heard that burp rising from my throat. Sorry. So, she called hospitals, emergency rooms. Her daughter was not there. And the next morning, a woman named Charlotte, I believe her last name is Bodie, was riding her bike sister when they noticed something on the ground that looked like blood, and then behind it were drag marks, bloody drag marks. They instantly called police, and when police arrived, they followed the bloody drag marks, and it led them to another gruesome discovery: the body of Melanie Bernas, and she was towards the bottom of the canal. So just like Angela, she had been stabbed in the back, and they believe this was like the initial stabbing. This was the initial injury to remove her from her bike, to capture her, to commit the crime. However, her body was a little bit different than Angela's, but investigators knew definitively this was the same man, and again, they would know it was the same man again later with DNA evidence, but we'll get there. So, on the chest of Melanie Bernas, there was the initials WSC, and there was a cross etched into her skin. And as far as I'm concerned, again, this case is currently in a trial, but this WSC, nobody knows what this means or what this could have meant or anything. And then, even more peculiar, Melanie's body had been redressed in like a turquoise like leotard bodysuit. So pretty much right away, just like Angela, this case went ice cold. But again, investigators knew this was absolutely the work of the same person. I'm gonna take a sip because I keep getting like the indigestion-y burps. Maybe I need a little more lip gloss too. Get a little tingles. There we go. So now, DNA evidence and forensic science began to pick up speed in the 90s, and this is when they were able to extract DNA from Angela and Melanie. They now had a DNA profile of their killer, and it was the same person, but they had nobody to go with it. They had found DNA from semen that was on and inside, I believe, both victims. So at this time, Arizona began to really grow and develop, and was getting more and more populated. More businesses were coming up, more things were being built, more roads, and it was just really starting to become a really booming city. But the community just remained on edge, and the local people that had been there for a while, they were just super uneasy and having trouble moving on from everything. There was no suspect. These were unsolved. People just didn't really feel safe anymore. But years passed, and even more years passed, and even more years passed, and people began to stop looking over their shoulder, and some people just forgot entirely. course, were able to forget. And they really tried to always reach out and, talk about their murders, and really tried to continue to raise awareness to figure out what happened to their loved ones. And these murders were dubbed the Canal murders. Investigators were frustrated. They lacked resolution. With every single year that went by, people were just, haunted by this case. Every hand that it passed through was just frustrated. And then in January of 2015, genealogy testing would break this case wide open. So, in 2014, Colleen Fitzpatrick was in Phoenix, Arizona at the time. She is a genetic genealogist, and the investigators of the Canal murders, were there in attendance to this conference, and she presented this case about how genetic genealogy can absolutely be applied to cold cases through the Y chromosome in DNA, and this will be able to provide at least a potential last name or a distant relative in a family tree to the suspect in question, or to a suspect in general. This could also be applied to John Doe and Jane Doe body identifications. So they jumped at this opportunity and they gave Fitzpatrick the Y profile from the semen they had required, and Colleen got a hit, and she got this same hit 6 times. They all came up with the last name Miller. She shared this with investigators that the name Miller kept coming up, and ironically, coincidentally, call it what you will, through their list of thousands and thousands of potential suspects, persons of interest, there was one Miller. And this was Brian Patrick Miller. Brian Patrick Miller was not really just any kind of guy to investigators and most people that lived in the Phoenix area. He was kind of a well-known local legend, almost, if you will, and I hate giving him that title, but he was a very prominent figure. Most people knew him because of this character that he portrayed, the zombie hunter. He had an entire getup physically with the way he looked and with his vehicle. So when this name came up and they looked at Brian Patrick Miller, they were like, oh shit, basically, because this is a man that literally was right under everybody's nose. Now, Brian Patrick Miller loved steampunk, horror, zombie comics. He loved that whole lifestyle, and of course, as we all know, this does not make a serial killer. I mean, we're not all about that satanic panic nonsense here, but this is just to give you an idea of who he was and how, again, well known he was in the community. So he drove around in an old police car that was souped up with the name Zombie Hunter on the side, and it was splayed with fake blood, a lot of paint. I think he would change it from time to time depending on where he was going or what events he was attending. Sometimes I believe he had like a dummy in the back seat, or it was like hanging out sometimes of like the trunk or something. Either way, you saw his car coming and you knew, oh, there's the zombie hunter. And if I can also just say that when I was investigating this case, my partner actually told me, oh yeah, I've seen his car multiple times, and I've been to several zombie walks, and he was there. Like, she has seen his vehicle, she's seen him. He was very known. He was very known. So it makes this whole thing just so bizarre. So he would attend conventions. He would, again, like I said, go to zombie walks, like pub crawls, and he would be there. He had like fans. People would come take pictures next to his car and with him, because he was all like in this like garb and get up, and people just loved it. They ate it right up. And he even has several photos with police officers and investigators in the Phoenix Police Department, which is just mind-blowing. I mean, call it like hiding in plain sight. But yeah, so very well known, very like he was not hiding. So while he seemed like a cool, nerdy, local attraction, local person that everybody knew, there was also a very different side to him. And according to Brian and his defense team right now, while he is in trial, this stems from a long childhood of abuse from his mother, which has unfortunately led to him producing some sort of hatred and dismay for women. But we'll get there, and we'll touch on that as well in the future videos and things. So let's go back a little bit. I just want to give you a little bit of past to Brian Patrick Miller. In 1989, he was accused and convicted of attempted murder for stabbing a woman outside of the Paradise Valley Mall. He was a juvenile, so I believe the case was like sealed or however that works, but he did what he needed to do when he was convicted. The woman survived. She managed to get away, and she'd actually been on the bus with Brian, and she saw him, and she felt uneasy almost right away looking at him. And when she descended the stairs on the bus, the steps on the bus, and walked away from the bus, is when the attack happened. And she saw him, and she knew right away it was Brian Patrick Miller. When she was getting her wounds tended to in the ambulance, the investigators and police officers actually brought Brian to her by the scuff of his shirt and were like, "Is this who stabbed you?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's him." She knew right away, but she's like, "But his clothes are different." So he was planning to attack somebody. It was very clear if you have a change of clothes on you and ready. So again, he was convicted of this, and she actually recently had testified in the Brian Patrick Miller trial. After this, at some point, Brian would move to Washington State for a few years, I believe, and he would do the very same thing to another woman. However, he was acquitted of this crime, but again, this woman knows 100% without a doubt that the man who stabbed her and attacked her was weeks. And again, friends all kind of regarded him as being a pretty normal, nerdy kind of guy. He settled down, he got married, he had a daughter. Not many people have many negative things to say about him that were friends with him at the time or knew him. And currently the defense team is about to go forward with their case and talk about this. They have a lot of character witnesses, that a lot of people that are willing to, say he was nice, he was normal, he was cool, well-mannered kind of guy. So, again, he was married, he had a daughter, kind of living this normal life. And in 2015, he was working at an Amazon warehouse, and, at this time, investigators, they have his name. The genetic genealogy brought up Miller. They're like, okay, we need to look into this guy, right? So investigators set up a sting. They approached Brian outside of the Amazon warehouse, an undercover officer, while he was on break, and he basically proposed a job opportunity to Brian. He told Brian that he was working security for the building in the back of the Amazon warehouse, and he was like, are you interested in, helping work security as well? And Brian, was like, absolutely. He definitely, was not going to turn down a job, any extra money to support his family. So he said, sure. And they all had to come up with a plan to meet at like a local Chili's restaurant. But prior to Brian coming there to, discuss the details of the job and fill out paperwork, they had set up the sting so that the dishes were clean and sanitized that were going to be given to Brian so that they could use it to compare it to the DNA from the Canal killings. And I believe an undercover officer was also part of the wait staff for them so that nothing would be tampered or damaged. So Brian shows up at the Chili's restaurant, and he actually brought his daughter with him. And this kind of sucks. It was kind of hard for me. I was like, damn, that's tough. I feel really bad for his daughter. So they had their meeting. He filled out paperwork. They chatted, they ate, and they immediately took the dishes for DNA testing. And without a doubt, the DNA was an exact match to the semen samples on Angela Brosso and Melanie Bernas. And in fact, at the trial, they had a DNA scientist there, and he proclaimed that this was such a match that statistically, or whatever the term is, this was like a 1 in quintillionth chance that the DNA, was his. There's not even that many people in the world. So, yeah, that's huge. That is huge. There's no denying that, right? So, shortly after this was confirmed, they made the arrest, and he was arrested at his home in 2015. So right away they knew they had a lot to sort through, because when they entered Brian's home, it was clear that he was a hoarder. So they had a lot of evidence to sort through, and there are pictures of them removing just everything from his home onto the lawn. There were so many things they had to go through. They couldn't just look through drawers. They had to pull so many things out. And there was, potential, there were so many things, hundreds of potential materials that could be evidence and that they have as evidence. Brian, a series of questions. And the moment, he was very like, yes, no, yeah, like instantly kind of answering them. But the moment the investigator mentions Angela Brosso, he literally freezes. He's like, no, I don't know who that is. But like, you can tell he was like, shit. And then Melanie Bernas as well, when they mentioned her name, he was just like, he froze. It's just very apparent that he was like, oh no, when they brought that up to him. And it's crazy to me because he almost seemed like he had no clue. Like he was almost thrown off completely when they mentioned these names. Like even he was surprised. So the investigator, tells him, look, Brian, like we found your semen on these girls. You say you only ever had sex with a prostitute and your wife. Like, I'm a man, you're a man. Like, what gives? And he kind of like gets confused and like makes this like assumption, like, well, maybe I guess I could have like slept with them almost. And the investigator's like, wait a minute, Brian. Like, come on, like. You just told me you'd only ever had sex with a prostitute and your wife, you know what I mean? So very much right away, it was just painfully evident that Brian knew, shit, this is like, he was caught, right? So now, here we are in 2022, and the case is currently in trial. The prosecution recently rested their case, and currently the defense is starting their case. Now, what's crazy about this is that this trial will not have a jury. It does not have a jury. This is a bench trial. Now, what that means is the judge will convict and rule on this. The judge only. And that's very like odd. That's not a very common thing, but I believe Brian like waived his right to be tried by his peers. And I think this has to do with the fact that basically Brian's defense is not saying that he didn't commit the crimes. In fact, they are saying that he did. What they're saying, what their defense is that there are two Brians. There is a well-mannered, kind Brian, and then there is this trauma-minded Brian. They're basically kind of using this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of defense for Brian, and they're saying that he absolutely does not or did not at the time of committing the crimes understand what he was doing and the consequences of these things, and that he has a lot of mental illness and learning disabilities that keeps him from understanding the consequences of the Canal killings. So again, the defense is not arguing that he didn't do it. They're like, okay, he did it, but he was not responsible because of mental illness. So, and this other personality, if you will. So again, I think that's why they're really relying on a judge in this case too, because I feel that any jury would be like, okay, well, he clearly did them, so guilty. So I think in a way this bench trial could potentially actually favor Brian Patrick Miller, and this is like infuriating to the victims' families, and they're actually really concerned with how this is going to turn out. And people investigating on this trial are like, this is going to be interesting because he could potentially get, I don't want to say get off, but like, yeah, he could potentially be, placed in some sort of, mental hospital and be be released. And that is just frightening to the families, and honestly frightening and alarming to several other families of victims that are believed to be Brian Patrick Miller's victims. Yes, several. There are several cases that have very strong potential and ties to Brian Patrick Miller. And we are going to dive really deep into that. Trust me, it just gets real bizarre. So, again, the prosecution has rested their case. They're moving forward right now with the defense, and I'm keeping a close eye on how that's going. Oh, sorry, I hope I didn't totally mess up the tingles there and just make a loud noise in your ear or whatever. I'm also really sorry. There's a lot more traffic out right now than I expected. I live in a part of Arizona that doesn't have this much traffic, so it's interesting right now. So I'm keeping a close eye on this trial, and I'm going to absolutely keep you all informed on it as well, because I'm on the edge of my seat with it, because it could go either way. But if the judge does charge him with the Canal murders, then he could be facing the death penalty. So we'll see what happens with that. And I'm just going over my notes and making sure that I told you guys everything. Oh, one thing I did want to mention about the trial, so far that's come out that I was like, what? The prosecution did bring a old roommate and really close friend of Brian's to testify, and he actually had a really compelling testimony, and he was really nervous, but he knew he really felt that he needed to say this. And when he was hanging out and living with Brian Patrick Miller when the Canal murders took place, he actually jokingly said to Brian, oh, you were out there by the canals that night, buddy, what were you doing? And Brian was kind of yeah, it was me, blah 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 blah. But that just really creeped out the roommate and friend, years later in 2015, when we have this actual conviction of this crime. So, and it's Brian Patrick Miller, so he felt really uneasy about that. And then he also recalled at the time, amongst Brian's possessions, he found the turquoise onesie leotard situation, and he believes that this was the turquoise leotard that was found on Melanie Bernas. He can't explain where this came from, or but he saw it right away, because he's living with this other kind of nerdy kind of guy, and then he looks in his clothing and he sees a turquoise leotard, and he's kind of And then they find this on Melanie Bernas, and that was also something that I think had been troubling him and was unsettling him for years. So just a little interesting tidbit about the trial so far. Again, I'm going to keep you guys super updated on everything that is going on. I have a slew of cases coming. I still have all of your requests that you've told me for the past couple of years that I've been doing this. I still have them. I'm still looking into them. Thank you for letting me kind of come back with these new cases that I've been really interested in. I hope that it all made sense. There's so much information here. I was like, oh, I hope I'm making sense. And again, I'm going to keep you all posted. There's plenty more to come. I'm at least going to talk about probably 4 or 5 potential victims of Brian Patrick Miller. I don't know if I'll do a video on each. That seems like a lot, but I might definitely do a few more videos touching on a few of these cases and then ending it off with, we'll get a resolution about the trial and how that went and how the defense is playing this out in trial. I'll definitely keep you all posted. I think that's it. I just want to keep talking to you guys. I just feel like it's been a long time. It has been a long time. Again, I appreciate all of you. I love you all so much. I just cannot thank you enough for, hanging on through everything and still just like patiently waiting. And I'm back. I can't wait to be back. I'm very fortunate and blessed to have somebody working with me on maintaining the YouTube and Instagram and helping me with video content. My lovely partner, I'm so happy. She is way more computer and tech savvy than I am, so yay. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but yay, we love her, yay. I think that's it. I really appreciate you all. I will see you very, very,